number 14. Mark?
Yes, it's that time of year again to get the annual report in for the MS4 speedy permit, and it's a requirement that the report be discussed or presented in a public forum, so we're going to do that here briefly. Just a few general items for the board's information. January of 2008 was the end of the first 5-year cycle for the speedies permit. The DEC issued a new permit that became effective on May 1st of this year. That permit has some minor modifications from the previous permit. It's generally the same. There was some new requirements for the Onondaga Lake watershed, and the town of Cicero has a very small portion of the town on the south end, basically in the Hancock Air Park area, that is tributary to Onondaga Lake. And we'll be reviewing the requirements of the new permit relative to that watershed and advising the board of what needs to be done relative to those requirements. They've basically given the towns a window of anywhere from 9 months to a couple years through this permit cycle to address those requirements. But again, since it's a small part of the town of Cicero, I'm not expecting that it's going to be anything overly burdensome for the town. I'd like to just go through the 6 minimum measures very briefly and explain what we've done over the last year and what we'll be doing for the next year. Minimum measures 1 and 2, which are the public education and outreach and the public involvement and participation. The town agreed to participate in the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board's program last year. I think the final cost ended up being somewhere in the range of $3,200. And by agreeing, that's for this year, by agreeing to do that, the Regional Planning Board will be providing the majority of the measures that are required by minimum measures 1 and 2. That's the training, the articles in the paper, the educational seminars, and those types of things. Hopefully the Regional Planning Board will continue to offer those services because I think they're very good value for the cost, and certainly reduces the burden on the town to provide these measures. The minimum measure 3 is the illicit discharge detection and elimination. As the board is aware, last year we did adopt a local law for this measure that was required by the DEC. The new permit requires that surveys of all the outfalls within the town be completed over a 5-year period. And we've mapped somewhere in the range of 150 to 200 of these outfalls. So the new permit requires that, well, it requires that all of them be done within a 5-year period, but suggests that in order to reduce the burden towards the end of the program, you do about 20% per year. So we're going to need to work with the zoning office. I've discussed this a little bit with Wayne, and we're going to try to develop a program to do this cost effectively for the town and come back to you with the specifics of that program. So that's something you should be aware of that will be coming up in this next year. As part of that, if there are any sources of illicit discharges that are identified, the DEC requires that you follow up and to identify the source of the illicit discharge and eliminate that. Minimum measures 4 and 5, which are the construction site stormwater runoff control and the post-construction stormwater management. Again, the board adopted a local law for construction and post-construction measures last year. It was required by the DEC. Basically, what we will be doing is we'll be continuing to perform reviews of the stormwater pollution prevention plans for projects within the town. This is being done basically as a matter of course during the review of site plans and subdivisions that come into the planning board. The town board certainly is involved with it also when contract drawings come in before the town board for approval. So we will continue to do that. The new item here is that the DEC is requiring the towns to sign off on the construction permit and say that they have reviewed these plans prior to the owner of the site being able to obtain the plan. In other words, before he can submit it, an owner can submit their notice of intent for a project, they need to get a sign-off or certification form from the town saying they've reviewed the plan and found it to be in conformance with really now the town's and DEC's regulations. So that's something that's new that we will need to implement over this next year. The other thing we'll be doing with the codes office is they're requiring inspections of construction sites and post-construction stormwater management practices. Basically, that means the ponds and other measures that are put in for the developments. They're requiring the towns to perform inspections of these sites. And again, we're going to be working with zoning to come up with a procedure to do that that's hopefully not burdensome to either the town or the developers. Lastly, we have minimum measure 6, which is the pollution prevention and good housekeeping. We do need to review the DEC's guidance on these measures and then make some recommendations on town compliance if we need it, but I don't believe there'll be a whole lot there. Basically, this item consists of things such as street cleaning, cleaning of catch basins, and those types of measures. So that's a quick rundown of the program, both the last year and what will be happening in the upcoming few years. If anybody has any questions, either the board or the public, I'd be happy to discuss them.
Any questions?
Yes, because I believe it was item number 4 about having to submit a plan and get it approved before you start. Does that prevent a developer from slashing and burning, all the vegetation before he comes in and presents his plan?
I think you're saying cut and clear.
Slash and burn, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, cut and clear too, but because I see it's, very unnecessary at sometimes to just flatten everything.
Prior to the disturbance of over an acre of land, the developer is required to obtain one of these permits.
And we have sufficient laws in place or
Have a local law to that effect.
to be able to do something about it?
It's a local law that was adopted last year,
I think
along with the DEC's ordinance.
I think we better take a
which
good
was
look at it,
previously.
because some of these developers have just knocked down everything in sight.
Any other questions? Need a resolution, Heather?
No,
No.
there's nothing. You've signed certification form. We've done what we need to do, so we should be all set. We'll submit that. It's due again by June 1st, so we'll send it out to the DEC and again continue to develop the plan and advise the board of any things they will need to take care of.
Thank you.
Thank you.